Hello, Joey. How you doing today?
Hey, how's it going, Joe? How you been?
Good.
Trav, I should say. Your stage name.
Hello, Joey. How you? There we go. I just wanted to check. Sound stage name: A traversable MGTOW, because
Yeah,
MGTOW is a traversable philosophy.
yeah, yeah. I'm doing good. I just sent you those pictures of my hiking today that I
Hiking.
do.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to.
Yeah, yeah. It's great. Like that's the thing, man. Any city you live in, there's always going to be a nice place where you can, kind of get away and
Yeah,
relax and think. And yeah, so
yeah. It's
I
up to
think
you
it's
to go
important.
find those things.
Yeah, exactly. Go find them. Learn about your world that you live in.
Right.
You know. So, but
Right.
I
Yeah.
was up there today, and yeah, go ahead, sir.
For years, I didn't do that. Like matter of fact, most of my youth, in my younger days, I did it, and then I stopped doing it when I heard about girls, and then it became like, you know, going to bars and stuff like that. And then after I became MGTOW, I started going out in the wilderness again and going, oh wow, I remember why I used to do this. It's so great.
Yeah. Well, and that's get you thinking, and it gets you, like that's why I texted you today to do a show. Like, just the thought that came to mind was like masculinity and how,
Masculinity. Yeah.
yeah, how like everyone, the culture just wants men to be a bunch of, girls.
Yeah.
It's like, and they just do that. They have their agenda, of course. They just do that so they can control us, and then let us be their slaves. And so yeah, so I think that reclaiming masculinity, I think, is an important topic for men to consider.
Yeah. I always say every time you turn on a radio or the TV, there's always some slight on men and strong girl power. And I don't care about that. I want girls to be strong and I want them to act with agency so they can take care of their business, make decisions for themselves, and the government doesn't have to make decisions. See, the thing with the way they attack masculinity is like, if we don't like, oh, go strong girl, and they think that MGTOW and everything's not for that. No, I'm all for that. I'm all for them doing everything on their own, finding agency, and that's what it's about, finding agency. And I think that's the root of femininity, and that's the root of all all their problems too. As soon as they find agency and start taking responsibility and accountability for their body, their choice, it is their body, their choice. They have children, we don't. Uh, it's their decision to spread those legs or not. There's like in the Swedish system, a lot would be ingresses and engresses. How many they have all these ingresses, doorways. You look at them as doorways to go through, and they make that decision. And then at the end of all that, they say, well, you males are toxic. And it's like, and, and somehow it's a zero sum game where we have to share masculinity and pretend that we're not these large, awesome creatures. We have to pretend like we're, like bow down and say, yes, yes. For you to get your femininity, I have to pretend like I'm less.
Hmm.
And it's bothersome.
Yeah, it's bothered me a little bit this week about just yeah, exactly. Always having like that, and I think that ties into codependency a lot too. Like men that are not masculine tend to be very more codependent. I think what I mean. Like
Right.
like what I'm saying, like always saying yes to people and always because we always say the best word in MGTOW is no. Yeah.
Right.
So when you start reclaiming that type of strength and learning to say no to people and setting good boundaries, you're gonna have a good life. So
Yeah, yeah, we just say no to that. We're not gonna play the game anymore. It's not worth it. The game's fixed now. All you're gonna do is lose, and then you have to pretend as the male that you want to lose. That's
hmm
what that was for, and propping up the you're propping up the other side of society by losing, and it's gone way way too far. I mean, we could watch it every day, and it's hard to avoid watching it every day when you turn on the news and you see things like Deshaun Watson and
hmm
Amber Heard and believe women, and then Amber Heard proved like sometimes women lie.
hmm hmm
It's like there's no honor in it, and there's not supposed to be any honor when the women operate. You know what I always say: they operate unconscious by concern, and that's it. And they should be concerned about themselves, but not in the kind of way that we see the media portraying it. And masculine, but the title today is masculine. It's all about us. It's about, it's about the young people, I think, and not buying into the idea that you shouldn't work on your masculinity. You should not become that kind of man, because that kind of man is toxic.
Yeah, like masculinity is not a bad word. That's the thing.
Yeah, masculinity is not a bad word. It's a great word.
Right. We're taught that it's a bad word, and yeah. So just kind of stop believing these lies that men are not good.
Yeah. So how do you see it as what kind of what do they throw at us? What do they what's the would there be unfair barriers to male advancement through this thing?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I thought about too is like how like personalities develop, and you see these guys that get married and they don't develop their character or personality as well. I've noticed that. I mean, because the men that are kind of more the MGTOW style, they're going to be, I think, more masculine, and they're gonna have more. They're more dependable, they're more responsible, they're more their personalities develop, I think, a lot stronger, and their
Yeah.
character develops a lot stronger because they're not always saying yes to their wives or whatever. So
Yeah, I think marriage was simply created by a system that seen a lot of boys that still needed raising and still need a mommy. And well, marriage gives them instant access to a new mommy. And I mean, in that, yeah, there's going to be a lot of push and pull in that. And most divorces happen between the ages of 18 and 32. That's an 86% chance right off the bat that it's not going to make it. And those children are too young, anyways, to get married and understand what a partnership is. But a lot of these boys now that are semi-emasculated by the system, they're just looking for a new mommy, and that's a horrible situation to be in. I mean, most of them don't start working until their mid-30s now, I hear.
really, well, and that's another thing too is the reason why masculinity is so important, and for us to kind of teach others, is because, like you said, they're not exposed to that type of strength. They're not. So, like, I was in a laundromat the other day, and some, like this kid was probably 14, 15, came up to me, goes, "You got any money?"
Yeah.
And I just kind of went off on him. I wasn't rude to him, but I said, "Dude," I said, "You're asking for money. You're a healthy kid." I said, "There's tons of jobs you can get out here making money." I said, "There's a lot." I said, and then I asked him, I was just like, "So who were you raised by?" He goes, "Oh, my mother," and
Yeah.
he had like no father figure, Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know the kid. I just met him, but for him
When
to
I
have for him to come up to me and ask me that for money, it's like I just felt like, wow, that's like, this kid's got he doesn't really have much of a chance in life, But if I can teach him a little bit, even through a short interaction, I didn't give him any money because I'm just not. I help men that are that are in dire straits and stuff like that, of course. But I'm not going to help a young kid that's healthy. I'm not going to do it. And I felt I had this good opportunity for me to teach him something there,
So Sarah Jessica Parker has joined us, and
Yes.
with
That's right.
corner you can see
That's
her.
right.
Oh, hey, it's MGTOW Cowboy. Who is this? MGTOW Cowboy?
Yeah, this is MGTOW Cowboy. What's up? How's it
Hey,
going?
How you doing, man?
I'm good. I couldn't help but notice. I just had a couple moments or a couple minutes, and I saw that Trav started up a stream. So it was a very pleasant surprise. I thought I'd jump in.
Cool. Today we're talking about masculinity, and what do you think? about the decline in masculinity and why. And I said earlier that I thought it was a zero-sum game for men have to give up masculinity for in this program for females to feel empowered. So that's taking from one to give to another.
Yeah. Okay. I'd say my thoughts on that issue are similar. The first thing I'd say is yes, I do believe that there is a whatever you want to call it, an agenda or a concerted effort by certain groups that, they want to see men become docile.
Right.
And I don't claim to know, I've heard, is it the Illuminati? And they're putting, what is it? They're putting stuff in the plastics. What is that? BPH or something?
There's estrogens in the plastic.
Yeah, right. There's estrogen in the water supply. There's chemicals in the plastic, stuff in the food, and so there's that. There's that side of things. But I also think that it's also just. I think this is like an age-old situation where men and women have always been fighting for power, and right now, women have the government at their beck and call, and so they. They weaponize everything, and right now, men are kind of we're on the ropes a little bit.
We're on the ropes a little. Yeah, it started, and me and my son always argue about when it started and when, and it's probably not important and everything, but now it seems, and I do think there's this overwhelming problem of government intervention in family life, which we can see with fatherhood. And I don't like to use the word fatherhood because I don't believe in fatherhood. But I don't know any. I could call it a male mentor figure, and a male mentor figures in a boy's lives that are decent, respectable men. And we know how important that is.
Thinking a lot about that issue. I think you're one of the first MGTOW that ever brought that up. That had me thinking about the idea of abandoning the notion that you are. Again, I'm still struggling with it. The idea that, I'm sorry, as you posit the idea, you say that fatherhood itself is a social construct. Is that right?
It's a social construct. It is really a social construct when you look at it. There's very, very little we have to do with that. And what it is a voluntary program, isn't it?
I mean, no, again, I said, I still struggle with that. I think to myself, okay, so like you say, or how can I put it? In other words, I mean, before civilization, right? It was, you could argue that it was the mother's burden to raise the children.
Right.
That being said, we have civilization now, and there's this idea that men should stick around. Right. I thought I've heard counter arguments.
The argument always is it's an important feature of the family. And it is an important feature. I don't argue that
it's an important feature of the family. I hear it's good for the children. Supposedly, it literally changes the brain chemistry of children just to have the father around. Yeah. I've heard arguments that I don't even know if these are real. The father. So this is like I don't know, the releasing of pheromones, and essentially it's like the physiology. I think it was. Do you know who Stefan? You know who Stefan Molyneux is?
Yeah, I know who Stefan Molyneux is.
Okay, I thought I remember him saying something like, "Oh yeah, it's proven science. If the father or a blood relative male is around, the female, the prepubescent girl of the family is more likely to her sexual maturation is going to be retarded." And the idea behind that is the pheromones of the male are being released into the family, into the family home. And the girl realizes that she is in a safe environment.
Right.
And so she does not feel the pressure to go into puberty. But if there are no males, then essentially the physiology of the female tells the female to go into puberty early, almost like all the men have abandoned them, or all the men have been killed off in war or something. And I don't know. I hear all kinds of weird things. You know,
Like
I don't.
the modern baby mama family is just, baby daddy number 1, 2, and 3. They're not out in the house. There's mother raising the children in a polyandric situation with the government. That's what they have now, and that's over 40% now. But my argument to these arguments, and they're good arguments, and I'll say, yes, it's true that the family needs a father in it, but it's an off the field argument. It has nothing to do with the argument. If you need something, like you need a shirt to wear, it has nothing really to do. You just need. And that's what they're saying. The family needs a father, so you have to do that. Like somehow the government has to give shirts out.
Yeah, no. Again, like I said, I still struggle with that. I still struggle with that.
Forces fatherhood on men, and for a female. And here's my problem. Some of the laws tend to lean towards there was abortion, but that's tapering down now. But what you call Moses laws, where the female just leaves the baby at a safe place, a fire station, or a
sure,
hospital, he just is relieved of all duties of that. And then with abortion, there's did you ever hear of male abortion? And my
right.
So I posit with a little idiom or a little syllogism. It says, "Mothers that don't want to be mothers make bad mothers." Is that true?
Sure, I would agree with that, sir.
Right. So if that be true, this be true too, that fathers that don't want to be fathers make bad fathers, but then they'll complain about the fatherhood. That's what happens. They complain about the fatherhood because not a lot of guys want to be a father.
Right, but then who would want to pay? So the question of who would pay always ends up coming up, and so the the idea that the man should have any choice in the matter, frankly, is just dismissed outright by our political adversaries.
By our political adversaries, yeah, it's like we're not as human. And then we talk about like who is the party in this institution that is held down. Well, when you look at that, who is the party? The male is. It's the myth of masculinity. It's the myth of male dominance. That's all a myth.
Well, in the points that you've just been bringing up in the last minute or two, yeah, of course, no, I'm totally on board. The idea of what I've been listening a lot to Professor Hugo, Dr. Hugo de Garis. Have you ever heard of Professor Hugo de Garis?
No, I have. Probably.
Oh no,
I just can't.
Oh no. Okay, he does have a small boutique channel on YouTube, but most of his work he seems to be posting very feverishly on MGTOW.tv and also BitChute. He's a world-class mathematician and scientist. He's done groundbreaking work in the field of artificial intelligence. But the good doctor also just happens to be a huge MGTOW. Okay. I recommend. Look, this guy's almost single-handedly building what you could call a counter case, an intellectual counter case to feminism, to be what we now call gender studies, women's studies, gender studies. Actually,
that's where I don't go into that argument with feminism, because I want the girls to be strong, independent girls and find their agency, and I think that's where the problem is: agency. Yeah, right. No, I understand that. What I'm saying is that there's malevolence at work. I think that these women, maybe not all of them, but probably most of them, they know that they're playing this double game. They want agency too, right? Yes,
power.
They want agency,
they want to pretend not to have agency. It's convenient for them, so they can lock you up and take your money and take you to divorce court and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, and I've often said, if anybody wants to argue with me, a scientist or something, come on in and we'll talk about. It. One of the lies that I hear all the time, and you probably hear it all the time, is you made her pregnant.
Yeah, that again, I've heard, I've listened
all agency from her.
I'm also reminded think it was Lazarus, or I think he used to go by Messenger Rising. Lazarus, he made a video response to one of one of your videos, and he was talking about how frankly how he disagrees, how he thinks that there absolutely is a huge need for a father. So I'm
that's
when it
it.
comes to that issue, I'm
that's an off the field argument. I see that as you can have a need for a lot of things in this world. You have need for water, you have need for housing, you have need for that, all that stuff. It doesn't mean it's automatically given to you. That's just need. Fatherhood should be something more that's prevalent in society. If we're going to have this fatherhood thing, it should be like one state, West Virginia, if you guys didn't notice, finally 50-50 custody. Now that's equality.
no,
that's fatherhood.
no, I haven't heard of that. What are you talking about? That's new.
They just came out last week or so. They approved it. It went through the state. Everything's 50-50 custody now in West Virginia. That's Joe Manchin's area. Yeah.
That sounds great. That sounds
that's fatherhood.
I hope
that's equality too.
Okay.
But as for something's needed, it is needed, and I won't argue that it is. But fatherhood as a biological father or something is you don't make her pregnant. She decides. Her body does it. Her body's prep for that. She carries the seed. You don't carry seed. 4% of the DNA. You all you do is a transposon, and this is where my biggest argument is. They don't teach kids these things in school where you simply you're whatever it is. I won't say it out loud. It's just a transposon, and it just changes 4% of the DNA of that egg, so it can split off into two sister eggs. From that point on, it's 100% her, and it was 100% her decision. It was 100% her agency. It was 100%. That 4% is a very little amount, isn't it?
Well, okay, now, okay, what I will say to that is I'm ignorant to the science. Now, I've heard you speak on this before, and so I must admit ignorance. I have not taken the time to look that up. My understanding is, my basic understanding is there's 23 and me. It's 46. You have 23 pairs of chromosomes. There's 46 chromosomes. Half come from your father, half come from your mother. Right. I would have to look into that.
Yeah, I would think that was even that's even a little over. Yeah, but humans have shared chromosomes anyways. 86% of the chromosomes we share with each other, and we also share with a rabbit or a squirrel or something. It's like 76%. So when you start looking at
that's true too, right? I mean,
so when you look at from that point of view, yeah, you can make that argument, but it's not really true. And it's a fabrication of because we share shared DNA is that, and I'm looking at it in a more what happens in real life point of view. Like it's her choice, it's her body, it's her choice. She decides when she's ready. She wants to do this. She picks a male with a certain genetic composition based on looks and size and masculinity and those things, and she makes it. And her body, after those two chromosomes split, it's 100% her. And it just seems ridiculous that the male doesn't get the right to say, hey, this will ruin me financially. And like the females,
right, absolutely. That's where I jump on board. I'm totally I'm totally on that.
You should have those Moses laws where, okay, I'm just giving the baby to her, and I don't want nothing to do with fatherhood. But the cost of that is what we're talking about. We're talking about a government that wants to force fatherhood financially because, and here's my other side of the argument, and this is where it starts really. You pay you pay taxes as a male, right? You're a single guy. You pay taxes. What do those taxes go for?
Yeah, no, they
should go for Health and Human Services to raise the babies, to raise the mother, to help out the mothers and everything. You already pay that amount, so they're double hitting you now. by calling you a father. And then they get permission to double, triple hit you on these issues. And in a society that was more honest, we would say we already pay taxes, and instead of the government using that money to pay themselves, and there are most of them are making 120,000. We can digitalize this system, put it in the library. A mom goes down, says what she makes, if she's working, how many kids she is, and then right away it'll go through a digital system and then come back and say, this is what you deserve based on the taxes we take in. And then that's the check she'll get. And we don't have to worry about this no more. Wouldn't that be a better program? Instead of
I would say that all that sounds very good to me. Although I think
employing
right now,
20 million people making $100,000 and leeching off the system, that's what Durkheim would call a social fact.
Right. No. I'm sorry. I'm of the school. I think right now things are so just corrupt.
Yeah.
Right. No, I agree with you. There's definitely a more efficient way. They're just but they're just stealing the money. And why if you have a government job and you're making great money and you're doing only half as much work as let's say someone who has a real job, why would you want that to change? So you're gonna have
they
a
don't
vested
want that
interest.
to change. They're going to lobby for that. They're going to put all their power, and they do have
Yeah.
power, into keeping what they have. But it doesn't mean the system is just. And I believe it's a system of racketeering that double taxes normal guys like us, working guys that go to jobs in places like this right back here.
Right. Yeah, but the thing is, so the way the men can fight back is by reclaiming the masculinity. Because once you reclaim your masculinity, you're not going to take shit from anybody, including the government.
Right. And that's what this whole thing is about. We can argue all day long, but MGTOW is about this thing where we see that it's a big scam. We see that it's a trap. We see that it's racketeering, and we want them to acknowledge in America we have the right to redress our grievances.
Right. But
40 years we've had men's rights, and for 40 years not a single person has heard us.
Yeah, but no, you're right. The way that men can fight back is by reclaiming their masculinity, because then they're going to have that healthy boundary. They're not going to take shit from them, from these people that are going to, extract all their energy and resources.
Right.
And then you just say no. You say that's why we say no to things like marriage. That's why we say no to even dating. Yeah, we say no to those things. Because it's like, you guys are playing. You're rigged. The game's rigged. We see that it's rigged. But the way that we fight back, once we have that masculinity intact, and that's an everyday part of your life, you're going to recognize these things right away, and you're going to say no. And maybe you don't pay your taxes. Maybe you do some things that are going to really disrupt the system.
Oh yeah, I believe MGTOW is about civil disobedience, and because we can't get our grievances redressed, and we can't look at this honestly. We can't get these people to look at it honestly because they want to keep their jobs, obviously.
Right.
And we don't want to go out to the private sector.
That's a great point that I think needs to be reiterated over and over and over. These people, they have a vested interest in keeping the system as it is. They know they're screwing us over. They know taxes are too high. But they also know that, look, take like a teacher, let's say like a grammar school or elementary school teacher. Here, I'm not in Chicago right now. I'm in New Holland, Michigan. And I just happen to have like a 34-hour reset, and so I'm sitting on this lake. Do you guys know that back in Chicago, right? I'm from Chicago. These teachers, or it's called CPS, Chicago Public Schools. They get 2 months off every year, paid. And they're making I think they're making like $80,000 going into their third year. They're making over $80,000. That's great. That's great money. You're just. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't want to demean their. I don't want to. You could make the argument they're like glorified babysitters. How are they making so much money?
I used to teach. Exactly. Yeah, I used to teach. It's probably one of the best jobs gone. Without a doubt.
Yeah. So these people, okay, we'll look at it in that aspect there. What if homeschooling became a big thing? These teachers would be like, oh no, they would try to lobby for. And they've lobbied for
right, and they have, and they do. They want to force you. They want to force you to send your children to
force
them.
you. Yeah. Now that's what the government's doing to men for this. They want to keep their money. There's 20 million of them that we're paying.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. Our taxes would go to 1/3 if we didn't have a marriage system. We get rid of the marriage and divorce system. We employ the system, which I talk about, digitalizing it. And then we forget about holding men responsible for if you want to be married and you want to be there as a man, you'd be a better father if you want to do it. Forced fathers make terrible fathers.
Yeah. Again, though, I'm sorry. It comes down to the almighty dollar. I mean,
yeah, it comes down to the almighty dollar.
Who's going to pay? I mean, doesn't it cost like what, $4,000 now on average to get the kit for braces? You got to go for 3 or 4 cycles, and they got to get tightened every 6 months. And it's all about money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I got a horrible story about that.
What, dentistry?
Yeah. When I was going through that.
You don't even need it. I don't even think you need to go to a dentist, man.
I paid for a pair of retainers bracelets, and it never went to the kid. It just disappeared.
Yeah.
Right. Just stolen. My let me tell you guys a quick story. So I'm sort of new to this trucking thing. I think I'm on day 20 now, day 21, and I was about to be sent home, and my driver trainer says, "Joe, do you want to go for one more week? Make more money." And I say, "Yeah, why not? Let's go do it." So my driver trainer, he's a perfect example. Like, there's some things about him I like. There's some things about him I don't like. I barely know him, but we've been living basically in the same truck for the last 20-some days.
Okay.
The guy's working stiff. The guy works like 80 hours a week. He's making all this money. Of course, he has 9 children. 9. He's married. The guy can't quit. He knows the guy can't quit working. That's the problem. He's paying every. The guy is. My God, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I come from a very large family where we had 11 in our family, and my mother ran off. She was a hippie, and she ran off to California, and my father never missed a beat. But there was no way his life, and there was no day in his life where he couldn't go to work. I'm sorry. That's sort of the point I'm trying to make. Like, this guy, my driver trainer, he can't miss 1 week of work. He can't miss 1 day of work. It would be horrific for the family and everything. But, when I look back now and see how sad my father's life was, his whole life was about just raising kids, and which he thought was the greatest thing in the whole world. And back then, maybe that was the goal. That was his trophy. But he could have had a better life. Well, I bring that up because I didn't mention this. I said all that to say this. My driver trainer, he has terrible teeth. He's like missing like half of the teeth in here. Yeah, like on both sides, in the upper and like the lower, like the mandible. He's that's probably missing like 10 teeth in the front. But he spends all this money on everyone else except himself. He's got a wife, all these kids by multiple women. He's got child support. Wouldn't it be nice if he could, get a passport and, drive over to Mexico and get like maybe 10 grand of work done on his teeth? He'd have all brand new teeth. He can't afford. I don't know. If he had the same benefits as a baby mama did, wouldn't it be nice if the system would support him equally and say, go get your teeth fit, go, here's dentistry, here's your medical. But men, when I remember having the kids while my wife was in prison and needing some help, and them telling me, hey, find another job. There's no support for men in this thing. No, there's no support. There's absolutely no support for us. So they could, and if he's paying child support, he's on the same system. He deserves the same medical treatment, which is full 100% dental. But they won't give it to him. Why? No. Because he's a male. And isn't that the typical racism? Isn't that being biased? Isn't that everything they accuse us of?
Yeah, they gaslight us every day.
Right, they gaslight. They're right. That's once you reach a certain, yeah, right. That's a perfect way of putting it. They gaslight us every day.
Yeah.
They on one side they say, we're oppressing them, right? Men have all this power,
right?
And they're the victims.
But who's
and then at the same in the same breath, they want to pass legislation giving themselves free money that comes from taxes, and it's mostly men who pay the taxes. And when you bring all this up, they're just like, yeah, whatever, you're a man, shut up.
Yeah, you should just shut up, and then they shame you. Aren't you a good enough man? You're never good enough. Just be a better man. Just go get 2 jobs.
Do more. I know. Do more. Be like Jesus.
Yeah.
Sorry, cowboy. I don't know if you're still
no. No, it's okay. No, I don't go to church. I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm very religious, but no, I just when it comes to MGTOW, like I see it as I don't know. It's a way of rebelling. If we could just get more men to think like us, that the system would collapse.
Right now, for a while it was happening, and then it seems like the government came out with this. Well, you can see 4 people watching here. It's like there's a system of tempering us and not letting us be heard. And I'm sure more men would be interested in the philosophy and the idea, but they'll do the same thing to us. They'll shame us and say, "Oh, look at these." How many times in your MGTOW career have you been called an incel?
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, just today. So on these travels, I've been traveling all over the states. My last short was Bainbridge Island. I made a real quick short and posted it, whatever. It's like 17 seconds or however long it is. And just today, some person, I assume is a woman, left me this lengthy message saying like, "Oh yeah, you're not a MGTOW, you're an incel. You were sent your own way. You're, no woman would ever want you." And I'm thinking to myself, yes, I definitely could have gotten married. There were multiple instances where some women, the women that I was dating in the past, yes, I could have easily gotten married, but that's not the issue. And I think that whoever left that message,
they've even hijacked the incel, because MGTOW came up with incel pretty much. It was probably Hoka. I think Hoka did come up with.
I was just about to ask. I was just about to ask Joey. He even right now, I think he calls himself Steve Hoka Fan Club. Who is Steve Hoka? I hear his name bandied around. Is he like a famous inseller? Is that right? Yeah,
he was the original TFLer, True Force Loneliness. Remember the book that came out in I don't know if you remember that in the I can't remember the guy that wrote the book True Force.
Rollo Tomasi, I think.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But he bought into that whole thing that he was being forced to be and then the incel thing came from TFL, and but they don't know what an incel is. We have it should not. They made it into a pejorative, and it's not a pejorative. There's a lot of guys.
I think they're trying to. Yes, I think they're trying to.
There's a lot of guys that are disadvantaged males, that are disabled males that will never get the opportunity.
Sure.
With a female, and you should be sympathetic towards those people. When I look at personality disorders, and I look at narcissism, and I look at there's 2 sides. This what they call the passions or emotions and that stuff. One of the biggest complaints on it is people without empathy. And when I look at these people sitting, and they made that incel thing into a pejorative, and they use it in a negative term. You're talking about a guy that can't walk, or a guy that has one little arm, or a guy that was born so disfigured that he will never ever experience love. Should you pick those guys? That would be like beating up a little kid. That's like beating up on a person. That's against the law, for one thing, and we don't do those things. We don't pick on disabled people because generally they're weak. A matter of fact, an A male like us would protect those people. And
Yeah, I agree. Except of course you're overlooking the fact that we're talking about men. So, but if it's a man, then you could just say screw him. In fact, make fun of him on the way out.
Right, because these men aren't useful to society in the way that, and a lot of them are. We have our friend John that's he's bedridden, but he's very useful to society. He's got a lot of great skills. We have a lot of friends around here that have great skills and should be treated better by society. But they're called incels, and they're called. It's like, okay, but imagine if they did that to a female.
Yeah, well, that makes sense too. Just like simple observation, like you look at homeless people. I mean, what's the ratio men to women that are homeless?
It's like 90%. 90% of all homeless are men.
Almost 98% and females and children are immediately housed. There is no homelessness if you're a female with children. You're immediately housed. Men are left in areas like back there. There's a camp on the other side of that ridge, around the other side of the steel mill. There's a homeless male camp over there. They just in the town next to me, which is Elyria, Ohio, they just had this big, and they're proud of the fact that they had a homeless camp, and they just chased everybody out, took all their stuff and chased them out. You know, the government is the major cause of all homelessness. The government makes more homelessness than homelessness does. It's becoming obvious that, and I worked in homelessness for a while, and I seen most of these guys weren't disabled. Most of these guys had mental or drug issues or anything. Most of these guys were fighting with the IRS or having a divorce. And
sure, I believe that.
And aren't able to afford a home for themselves. So they live in vans, they live in their cars, they live where they can. And it was forced by the government. It's back taxes, and they lost their home to taxes, which goes into the same thing. We have county governments and city governments that are levying taxes on houses, even after houses are paid for, and then telling you in the same breath that you can't do any commerce out of your house. And then the United States Constitution says the only way you can collect taxes is if you provide commerce to the people. So they're denying people the ability to do commerce, and then they want these, and then they're taking their houses. It's company store. It's company store homelessness, and then they'll point at it and go, "This will happen to you if you don't play along by our rules."
Yes, of course. I mean, okay, so now you're taking it to some of the highest levels. I mean, yeah, okay. What I would say to that is I completely agree. I think it's almost like we live in a slave system. We're told that we're free, but over time, so many rules nickel and dime us, or what do they call it? The death by 1,000 blows, death by 1,000 cuts. A little here, a little there, and then it gets to the point where you wake up and you're like, wow, we're not really free. The tax man can basically make you homeless at any time.
Right. Yeah. And if you're a divorced male and you have 3 kids, and you're paying 30 to 40% of your income first, and then another 40% of your income, that leaves you with what, like 20% of your income?
Yeah, no, you can do the math. Let me give you another example. So going back to my driver trainer, and again, I don't claim to like everything about him. There's some things I do not like about him, but he has some redeeming qualities. I listen to him, because we're stuck. We're driving around. We're just driving around the country. He has like it's called a blue parrot. Have you guys heard of blue parrot? It's probably the most like ubiquitous headphone. What's it called? Because you have to have hands free when you're driving.
Yeah.
And so he takes these calls on this. It's called a blue parrot.
Yeah.
He's talking to all these people, including friends, family, and he doesn't know I'm MGTOW, but he talks about it himself. He has multiple friends that call him, and I hear him. I can overhear him. He's talking about child support. He's like, blah blah blah. It's a collection agency. He keeps using that term. It's a collection agency.
And
of course, I want to intervene and say, oh, it's so much more than that, and
Yeah.
I want to try to, turn him on to MGTOW, and but, whatever. He's married. I don't know. He's a perfect example in my mind of a man who is so caught up in this slave system. The man's going to be working until he drops dead. The man's going to be working until he's 70.
Or he drops dead early, which is most likely.
There you go.
And
I
that's,
mean, it's just, I'm telling you, it's unbelievable. The guy makes after taxes, the guy probably makes $6,000-7,000. Maybe he's an owner operator. Guy probably makes like close to $10,000 a month. He can't.
Wow.
He doesn't even have the money to fix his own teeth.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
The government's taking the lion's share of that, and that's where it is slavery. And when you think about the declining quality of a male's life and why we die earlier and everything, there's no biological difference between the flesh of a female and the flesh of a male. So why does the flesh of a male break down early and he dies? Because of these things. He works himself to death.
Right.
Most men work themselves to death. Most men work in companies like back there with chemicals and harsh environments.
Right. Yeah, down at the tire plant, breathing in all them fumes and
plastics,
and then they die at 56 of cancer.
Yeah, you're going to die, and no one's going to take responsibility for that. No, there hasn't been a reasonable retirement program for males anymore, and nothing to protect us. There's no unions to protect workers against this sort of stuff anymore. So they don't care anymore. It's like, oh, so what? The male dies at 60 years old, and the female gets to live because generally their lives are taken care of and easier. And there's no. When you look at the lifespan of a doctor and you wonder, well, how does most doctors live to 84 years old, and it's the quality of life. Why doesn't every male deserve that quality of life? Well, he made some kids. He didn't make those kids. It was her choice to have kids. And it's a system of slavery that just pays your government so they can have the quality. I bet you'd look at the quality of government workers' lives, and they will live much longer than me or you ever.
Yeah, right. So again, I mean, in the final analysis, it's we have not yet thrown off the shackles of what we can call slavery. I mean,
slavery.
Basically,
right.
It's like we're still slaves. We're still people fighting for our freedom.
Males are still people fighting. I bring up the 2 tenets of barbarism a lot for a reason, because they have everything to do with what happened now. It's polygamy and polyandry, and 2 tenets of barbarism is polygamy and slavery. Well, we fought one war over that, but we legislated the other, and we used the wrong pronoun. We said men cannot marry more than once or twice. And then, but when you look at the baby mama situation right now, she has baby daddy number 1, baby daddy number 2, baby daddy number 3. Isn't that polyandry? Isn't that polygamy?
Right. It's barbarism.
It's barbarism. And
so if that's the case, and I have become convinced that it is, and I am a MGTOW, what I do, my message is I tell men, essentially, to yes, obviously the overarching plan is to end all this.
Yeah, don't F the baby mamas, which is what's that guy's name that did that great video? Don't F the baby mamas.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Don't date. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, that's my message. I tell men you have to totally restructure your life. Yeah. It's okay. It's okay to frequent prostitutes. Spend as little as you can on women in general. Try to gain some sort of marketable skill. And
don't use your real name.
Yeah, all the stuff we talk about. Yeah. Go get sex in other cities, as Hoka says, or as
take a hot shower. That's actually the best way you save money. But yeah,
200 miles and a fake ID.
Invest in a good shower.
I have people argue with me about that too, about 200 miles and a fake ID, and it's like, oh, you get arrested. Don't use your ID to try to,
Right.
get a fake
It's an
ID,
out.
but don't give a cop it and go, here's my
Yeah.
driver's license. You're an
Yeah,
idiot.
it's
Don't be
an
an
out.
idiot.
It's an out. Yeah, it's an out. The monks got it right though, because they're just taking hot
Yeah.
showers and whatever, and
Yeah,
that's good
I don't
enough,
know.
you know?
I think I respectfully disagree with that. I was just about to bring up. I don't know if you guys follow Hormaxer 2 is what he goes
Yeah.
by now.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I mean, I'm sorry. I'll just come out and say it. I support that sort of lifestyle. Maybe not to the extreme, but
High risk though. I'll let you finish your
Okay.
point. It's high risk though.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
living a high risk life though. I hope
Yeah,
he
the
does.
antecedent to that, if you guys just have to do it, and that's what I say, if you guys just have to do that, protect yourself. 200 miles and a fake ID works great.
yeah, right. No, I mean he can drive 4 hours, or I guess 4.5 hours, and be in Mexico, and it is in fact legal in I think he calls it Zona Norte, right over the border in Tijuana.
Yeah, Tijuana.
Yeah.
I've never been there, but yeah.
Yeah,
and
no,
what I
I've been
mean by
there
that is if you're in a hotel room in the morning and you look over and there's somebody else in that bed, leave that fake ID and she'll jot that name down.
Right.
You go back to your life, and she's looking for John Smith for the rest of her life. She can continue looking for John Smith.
I've never been to Tijuana. I never want to go because there's just too many shady people around that type of industry. You can just go to LA and just go to a massage parlor if you need, like if you, I think he lives in Vegas, right, Whoremaster? But like, there's tons of massage parlors and things like that, and like legitimate areas that you can take care of your business, and that's probably the safest way to go, because you deal with prostitutes, and you're dealing with pimps, and then you're dealing with crazy people, and it's just they're gonna try to rob you. Because I remember a guy back where I was from. I didn't know the guy, but I remember reading the story. He got bait and switched by a prostitute, went to the house, and then he got killed because the pimp was there, and they're not the smartest people in the world. So those are things that I'm concerned about with that, but.
Right. I can second that. I've heard horror stories, probably from the news. Men, they think they're going to get lucky with some girl. They think they're going to, exchange money for sex. They meet up in someone's house. All of a sudden, you think you're going to get blown. You think you're going to get a BJ. All of a sudden, 4 guys pop out of the closet. One of them got a gun. It's a totally different story. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't ever go to like if you pick up a prostitute, don't ever go if she says I got a room, don't ever go there. Just drop her off.
There you go.
I'm serious. It's just practical advice. Don't ever. It's always on you have to control your environment. You
have to control your environment, right?
Yeah, you have to be you have to control your environment. Don't be vulnerable just because the little head's trying to outthink the big head or whatever. And be a sucker. You know what I'm saying? So.
My point about this whole thing is there are ways as a male that you can have a family. But a family doesn't consist of a female. You can have children, surrogacy. You can get a vasectomy and never have to worry about that. There are ways that men can do this, but it's looked down on in the society. As soon as you become a single father, the whole system looks at you like they're going to take that kid, that kid's cash, and they want to take it from you. But you can do surrogacy. You can do adoption. You can do if you just have to be a father, there's a lot of ways to do this. I would suggest surrogacy, and if you are doing the MGTOW way, you should by the point 30 years old have enough money to afford that. MGTOW is about looking at life in a different way. I say I did want to have a child and raise a boy to be a football player and a strong masculine male. I would go about surrogacy. Up until that point, get a reverse vasectomy.
I mean, oh boy, when it comes to surrogacy, I'm totally on board. I think we're still. I think most men, definitely most people, when they hear the sort of things that we're talking about, they think that we're crazy. They look at us like we have 3 heads or something.
They automatically assume that a baby comes with a woman to take care of it. No, if you're a man, if you're a masculine male, there's no day in the week where I need a woman to take care of that baby. I'm going to take care of that the best I can. And I deserve all the rights.
I agree. I think
to take care of that baby, raise it. I deserve the time to put it in get a proper nanny. get a maid or whatever I need for the so I can go to work and them things. I deserve that same privileges that a women have.
Right. No, I agree. I remember learning in the past. I mean, how far do you guys want to go back in the past? 200 years ago, when a man and a woman would divorce, the children would go with the father.
Yes.
And the mother was basically cast out into the street. That's right. You can go back 2,000. Like what's that? I'm sorry.
Cows. That's the problem. They look at us like cash cows.
Yeah. Again, our society has been so. It's been completely the way I see it. Again, this is that's why I like to study history. Do you guys know during like the Roman times, it was the same thing. Children were legally considered property of the father. The husband could legally murder his own wife. I'm not saying that I think that that's a good thing. What I am saying is, I listen to a lot of people. Among them are people like Hormaxer. He talks about how in the ancient times, in the times of the ancients and in the time of the Romans, things were much more androcentric. Men could do what they wanted. You didn't have to answer. Basically, our society has become completely reformatted. Women control everything when you really look at it.
Look into the justice of the peace, how the justice of the peace started, the people that actually do the marriages and stuff. In America, after the Civil War, there was not enough police to police outskirts.
Oh, yeah. I remember I was listening to you talk about that with Joey. You were saying like they were first used to like rustle or to like capture slaves or something.
It was the justice of the peace was slave recovery at that point. And then the justice of the police is still slave recovery. Isn't it?
No, I don't know. I'd have to look into that.
Yeah, marriage and then divorce, they both go together. They're both in the same vein. Marriage and divorce, justice of the peace, and then who the slave recovery agent. When you look at the people that are the collection agency, is the slave recovery agent, and they're the justice of the peace, and they're going to come and get you and force you back into slavery. That's what's going to happen. And they're the same people, and they're doing the same thing now as they did then.
Huh.
It's just
I'll have to look into that.
It's multi.
Yeah, again, it's fascinating. I've become, I don't know. I think one of you talk about it. I think you reference a guy called Camus Rebel. How we need to embrace this idea of like going against the grain.
Yeah, Camus Rebel is a very good idea where you can dissect the different types of rebellion. There's metaphysical rebellion, there's actual rebellion, and there's armed rebellion. There's a lot. What we want to do is civil disobedience, which is metaphysical. Well, the idea behind a metaphysical rebellion is a little bit different, and then he'll go into the different qualities of rebellion and how you should be a rebel. And be that, and it goes on Thoreau and civil disobedience and Emerson's civil disobedience and that sort of stuff. But you should embrace these ideas, because someday we're going to have to fix this thing, and it's only going to come through force. And if people don't realize that, men someday are going to have to stand up for themselves.
Yeah, I concur 100%. I can't wait for the day where I was bringing up that professor that what's his name? He calls himself Prof Doctor or Professor Doctor. Prof Dr Hugo. Yeah, Hugo DeGaris. That's what he says. He predicts that eventually we're going to start seeing gender. He calls it gendered violence. He thinks that men will become so upset at the system. Essentially, they're going to start like political violence. Like,
well, you do see that.
They'll start killing judges. They'll start killing political. Like they'll wait outside of a family court, like start killing bailiffs and police and. Yeah.
The first thing you have to say in that situation, I tell every young man that comes through here now, and Joey knows I run a house for transitional men that are going through divorce, and You stay for a while, I'll pay for everything, get your shit together, all that and everything. But the first thing I tell them is the first thing you should tell that person down there at Health and Human Service when they utter the words child support, you say, I'm not your slave.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm not your slave, and you
And
should
don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I think under certain circumstances, there are many men who would still want to pay if
Yeah.
they had some power in
if they had some power
the
and
whole
some
thing.
equality. Okay, let's talk about giving me healthcare, free healthcare. Let's talk about the benefits. Let's talk about 50-50 custody, and I'll be the father. But these things have to be in my favor too, and
Right.
support me like you support her.
Right. That's what fascinates. That's what I'm passionate about. Is, you know, at the end of the day, you know, who has the final say? Who men don't have the final say anymore.
No.
And if you don't go along with this, you know, you could actually find yourself in jail.
In jail, yes, and jail is just slave prison. It's just
Right.
Right.
There's two ways. There's basically two ways you can end up in prison in America by not paying money, and that's if you don't pay the government or if you don't pay women.
Right.
I was having this conversation with my driver trainer, and he's got all these kids, and you know he's trying to make light of it. He's kind of joking, and I said, listen, come on, man, cut the crap. You still you're paying child support on what, like 4? I think 4 of the 9 kids that he still has. I say to him, what's going to happen if you just stop paying? And he didn't even answer before I answered for him. I told him, they're going to send you to jail. You know that.
Yeah.
And he knows it too, you know, and he kind of laughs, but it's not funny. And at the end of the day, it's not funny.
No, it's they threaten the whole. It always comes up, the threat of rape, and that's the Christian way of dealing.
Sure. That's another thing worth mentioning. You know, I think that's part of why they like to scare you with jail or prison, because
you can go to jail
because men.
Christians,
you know what happens in jail, or you know what happens in prison.
Yeah, Christians are like you. They just like to rape. You know, they just like to rape the man into you. You know, it's such a horrible system right now, and that comes from daddies for cash. I call it the daddies for cash system now. Right in the corner here, there's Grafton Prison, and Grafton Prison had a notoriety of being 68% men on child support. That's why they were there. 60 of the men.
No, I don't. I mean, I believe you. I don't know for sure, but I believe you. It's like you pay your child support.
If there was an armed rebellion at that point, I would have supported it, because that's how disgusting that place was.
Yeah, right. Again, that's what Professor Hugo de Garis talks about. He says it can actually get to that point where men they snap, and then they just wait for like the caseworker to leave the building, and they come and get them. And
I don't know if you ever had the experience of that, but I've sat around with those men in that holding room before we went and talked to the caseworkers, and each one of us, if the motives, if the emotions would have went so high, we would have took that place over in a second. There would have been no doubt.
But again, that's not, they pick us off. They pick us off.
Oh, they separate. Burgess individualism in America. Yeah, that's keep us away from each other. How comes you're not allowed to know all the other men in the community that are child support?
Right. How come I've heard multiple people say, how come you're not allowed to film in a family court?
Yeah, how come you're not? They will yell at you if you start talking to another guy. The lady at the desk, no talking in there. You can't talk to the other guy. They don't want you to know him. They don't want you to connect with him and start talking MGTOW.
Right.
Like what you said about guys that don't pay their child support. Big deal. You go to jail a couple of years and then you're done.
No, if I was 21, 22, and I had 2 or 3 children, and they were trying to pull this on me, I would just stretch the system out and say, "Go on, put me in jail."
Again, I was thinking about that as well, Trav. At first, again, on face value, I say to myself, Trav is crazy. But then I think about it and I say to myself, okay, so you got a kid, and you're looking at whatever 18 years of child support.
Yeah.
And what's your argument? Go to jail for 2 years?
You'll probably have it, for 2.5. You have a felony that you'll be able to have expunged. You'll be able to get work anyways. But you know what you do? You make them pay for their barbarism. It's going to cost to keep you in jail. You run every car every time you see something, you break it.
My buddy, 300,000, costing 300,000 for one kid, child support. 300,000.
Yeah, right. Okay, so there's layers. There's layers of defense. I think the first layer is you don't even engage in that. Essentially, you don't have children in this system.
Right.
The problem is you have a lot of men. For example, my driver trainer.
Yeah.
You know, he's working his ass off. You know, he's again, he's not perfect, but he's the guy's literally working like 80, 90 hours a week. He owns his own. It's called an owner operator. He owns his own truck. The guy's a slave. You know, he never heard of MGTOW until he had all these kids. Now he's, So there's the first thing you want to do is you want to avoid all this if you can, and then
you can, right? That's the
and then what? But if you slip up and you have kids, then there's a secondary, there's a tertiary line of defense, and
if some jerk out there convinces you that PUA is the way, and you don't figure out how babies are made, then there's a secondary defense.
I mean, I appreciate the knowledge that PUA like to spread about female nature, but no, I'm much more politically minded. The idea that your basic human instinct, your what's it called? The biological imperative of the male is to seek out a female, right? And to couple up with her and to have sex with her and to create children, and it's just it's weaponized. You know, how is it that you're interested in a woman and somehow some way that can get you landed in jail?
Right.
That does not compute with that. Does not compute.
Yeah. There is one other way. I think we talked about that last time, and it was the it goes into surrogacy thing, but it doesn't land. You don't get the kid, and it's lesbianism. Lesbians don't want you around. They don't want you as a father. You just sperm donations, and then they have the children. I have 2 children that way, by the way, and you never see the kid.
You know what? I understand for certain people, I think that would be fine too.
Yeah.
But again, my understanding is that even that being the case, if the lesbian couple so decides, they can change their mind, seek you out, and sue you for support.
Yeah, you have to get you're a sperm donor, and then that's what you have to get the paperwork for and become a sperm donor. And most of my life, I've hung around with a lot of lesbians, and I know how their community works. They're kind of cool to hang around with and drink with, and they're always searching for. They want to have children just like anybody else. Any other female wants to have children, but the problem is they have a female partner that can't make that happen for them, and they're looking for a pretty good male. And
sure, you said it yourself. They're looking for genetics, certain height.
Genetics
blah, blah, blah.
are important, and you can get in touch with the lesbian community and speak with people about that too. And don't be shy, don't be don't be insultive and everything. I don't care how people feel about the gay thing. It's none of my business, but that's another route to go, and it's an option. It's a real option. It worked for me, and I can say that it 100% worked for me.
Yeah, but didn't they never try to sue you for child support?
No, they want nothing to do with me. They don't want no male in their life. But that's the thing. That's total agency.
Yeah, no, right. In a roundabout sort of way, I sort of like that idea. That idea. I'm just scared of the idea that when and if they were to change their mind, they have the legal standing to sue me, and then
behind you. Yeah. Then you present your case like, hey, it was a sperm donation. They were lesbians. I was lied to. It's the same old trap. You'd be in just the same position as most other men, but probably to a lesser degree because it's because you can see the deceit. You'd probably end up paying a minimum, but I don't think that happens because they value agency so much.
That's good. That's good, and good on them. Good on them. I'm sort of I don't know what you want to call it, shell shocked from just so much abuse and lies from the women in my life. Right now, I'm thinking surrogacy is the way to go. If you can't do surrogacy, just accept that you probably are not going to have kids, and then just
surrogacy is not that expensive. It's a little more expensive now because it's or the lawyers get involved with that too. Just be prepared for that. And if you are the MGTOW you say, we're trying to make good men that are financially stable. There's no way from if you work through your 20s up to your 30s and you finally say, I want to have a child through a surrogate, you shouldn't have enough money in the bank. You shouldn't have enough money by that time to provide a pretty good living for a child. So
yeah, well,
either.
Yeah. What I would say to that is, yes, I suppose you're right, but I'm not there yet, and I have certain financial goals.
Oh, we all spend money foolishly once in a while, and that's a good subject about young men. Don't spend your money foolishly.
Sure. What I was alluding to, I'm alluding to the idea that what's it called? Have you guys heard of the? It's a prominent online community. Although I think they're starting to do meetups. It's called FIRE, for financial independence, retire early.
Yeah.
I have this idea that, like, essentially you should not have kids too early. You should try to, especially if you're a man, because you can get away with it.
Right.
You should put off having children until your 40s, maybe even your 50s.
Yeah, genetic.
And to try to build up, build a small like real estate empire. Try to get like 4 or 5 duplexes, and then you could afford to have a kid. You could actually retire early if you want, and just make it your life goal to raise your own family.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd be totally. I have a son here now. Raising a son's great. He gets a positive influence in his life, and all those things are fulfilled. But it doesn't. What I'm saying is, man, children shouldn't have to come with mothers. That's the thing, and there's plenty of ways to go around this thing and think about it in a MGTOW way where children don't come with a mother.
Yeah, I agree. It's
No, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, that idea sounds good, but like to save all that wealth into your 40s and 50s and then take a chance with women knowing their nature, that's actually very that's not. I don't know if that's so smart.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
That's a problem with female. We go over that all the time. Women aren't honorable, and there was never a day where they were honorable because they don't have that thing. That's just you can learn that in basic MGTOW 101. Women are without honor. They get conscience by concern, and that's an interesting topic to go into when I talk on Facebook sometimes. The idea that she had some honor, and I say no, it's conscience by concern. The way to quell conscience by concern is to make sure she doesn't have no concerns. Mm-hmm. If you're in that situation.
You know what I find very fascinating, Trav. I've heard you talk about what is it? Women. I'm sorry, I can't remember the scientific term that you use. You talk about how it's built into their biology that women purposely conceal the time of year that they are ovulating.
Yeah, they every month they conceal. It's the sexual crypsis. It's SIS and it's CRYPSIS. Look up sexual crypsis.
Sexual crypsis, right? That's what it is. Sexual crypsis. So essentially, just to cover that again, very briefly, many species of animals, for example, dogs, they go into heat or they go into estrus, right?
Yeah.
And the male of the species know that.
Yes.
But when it comes to the human species, women do not go into heat, or they do, but it's not obvious.
Yeah. And there's only one way it's detectable, but it's not even real detectable. That's lordosis. That's where their butts kind of go upwards.
Really? Is that true?
Yes, lordosis. But a lot of females, when their backbone will genuflect upwards in a mating position.
Really?
But it doesn't happen to all of them, and it's still not detectable with modern clothing and everything. High heel shoes emulate that position anyways, so it's already in that position.
Wow.
But
okay.
Sexual crypsis is about It's one of the MGTOW things that every MGTOW should know is sexual crypsis. Sexual crypsis.
Right, right. I agree.
Fertility for a reason. What reason is that? So she can say all the males.
So she can deceive. So she can deceive the men within her community and try to elicit support from all of them. Right.
Hence, this is the natural biological rule. Hence, Health and Human Services. All the males support all the females, and that's more natural way. That's what I say about it.
So then we can. So then you could say. Sorry, I'm feeling scatterbrained. So you can make the argument that it's built into women's biology, the desire to deceive the male.
Right. They want resources from the entire community. That's Health and Human Services. That's what we already have. That's why stealing the money from the men so they pay the government, that's what makes it so long, because you're rubbing against the biological fact. And the government right now is the biggest culprit of ruining the system of mating that we have. Their intervention, it's a religious intervention into marriage and divorce and all that, and child support and all that. If you just do it my way, and all the men pay taxes, right now you're paying taxes for that anyway. You're paying for the women and children anyways right now, but the government's stealing it and not using it for them. We have to get
right. Yeah, that's what kills me the most is the taxes.
And that generally lines up with sexual cryptis. They know this fact. They know that it's a biological fact. And if it was done right and it's done the way it should be, you just pay your taxes. Don't worry about who you're messing around with. She goes down and she gets everything she needs. The children are supported, and that would cost us 2/3 less. We wouldn't have to pay for these people to be sitting behind desks and act like authority positions.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely fascinating. Again, all of it. You know, I listen to. I'm still fighting. I'm still not in total accordance with what you talk about when you talk about the father and how it's a social construct. I'm still fighting with that, but some of the other stuff is absolutely fascinating. I take right to it, like that sexual crypsis. I'm going to look that up.
It's one of the reasons why fatherhood. One of the reasons why I say fatherhood is a social construct. It's that sexual crypsis, and we're already doing what we're supposed to do as males. There shouldn't be no other programs than what we have right now. But the only problem is that government employees steal from us in a racketeering scheme. Right.
So it's like we're double, triple tax, you know?
We're double and triple tax, which was the original reason for us revolting in 1776 or 64, whatever it was, whatever you believe. It's the reason why we revolted anyways, because we were getting double taxed. We didn't want the church telling us that we had to pay taxes, and we didn't want you telling us what religions we were going to do and everything. We didn't want religion. We just wanted to be left free to do it naturally. And if America would have developed more naturally, it would have been perfect. It would have been fucking utopia right now. But there's thieves always. There's always an agency or something that's coming to you and saying, we're doing this for your own good. Now you got to pay us.
Yeah, it's for their own good.
It's for their own good.
Yeah.
There's always
it's like I was thinking today, like when you know, listen, I'm all for, I have a good work ethic and I'm all for that, but yeah, essentially your work ethic is just building their dreams. They're extracting all the energy from you and resources from you to build their dreams. While they sit around in their asses and do nothing, which is why if you work for a major if you work for any type of corporation, or you don't go all out for them, by no means. You appear to be busy at all times to keep them off your back, but the minute you have a chance to not work hard and not kill yourself for it, go for it. Do not kill yourself for a company. That's the worst thing to do.
Let me give you an example right now. I'm a student driver, right? I have this driver trainer, and he's paying me a flat fee. Basically, it's $1,000 a week for the first month, $1,200 the second month, and $1,400 the third month. I drive mostly at night. If you guys know anything about driving a truck, it's how can I put it? It's better to drive during the day. You have more of it. You just, it's just,
Yeah.
it's easier, it's safer. Okay. So the point is I purposely drive a little bit slower.
Right.
And my driver trainer, who's, the owner operator, he's essentially giving me shit. He's sort of saying, hey, you should drive a little bit faster. You should drive a little bit faster. And I take Joey's advice, oh yeah, no, yeah, you're right. I got to get on that. I'll be driving faster, and don't you worry. And from the back of my mind, I'm like, no matter what I do, as long as I don't fucking crash or kill someone, I get $1,000 a week. I'm not going to drive for 4 or 5 miles an hour faster in the dark when it really is. It's more dangerous. No, I'm going to drive 62 or 63 miles an hour. I'm not going to drive 70. We'll still get there, and I'm not gonna risk my license for the
That's the major word: risk reduction as a MGTOW.
Right, harm reduction, yeah.
Harm
reduction, yeah. Well, you're paying for his bitch. That's what you're doing.
Right.
He wants you to pay for his bitch. Yeah,
now,
he wants you to work your ass off because that's his dream. His dream is
men want you to pay for their bitches.
Yeah, of course.
That's his dream. He got 9. He's still paying child support on 4 of his 9 children, and I'm helping him achieve that. But I'm not gonna drive 70 miles an hour and get a ticket, get into an accident, get sort of DOT violation. No. I'm gonna keep it legal until
that works back into the sexual crypsis thing too. The married men want you to pay for their
right. That's the deeper. That's
they
the
feel
deepest, that's one of the deepest levels. Once you realize that
all roads go back to MGTOW.
Or I was gonna bring up that Camus Rebel guy. Like, these married men, and this cuts deep. I mean, this is even our own family. In my case, my own father.
Mm-hmm.
My own father. He has no problem with getting other men, including myself, to just do free work. Sometimes it could be dangerous or dirty or whatever for the women, for his wife, anyway. I'm sorry. Now I'm ranting.
Yeah,
you're not ranting. That's an important topic because that's why no is so important and boundaries are so important, because they're just going to keep extracting until you literally drop dead, until you have that heart attack.
We used to talk about that at length.
Until in my case, and this is what I teach men, using my channel and in my life, that men need to lay down these barriers. The men need to lay down these barriers that you are not to cross. Essentially, I tell men, if you have to, you need to cut off your relationships with abusive people, even if it's your mom, even if it's your dad. In my case, my dad, I love my dad, but I don't really have much. I don't have anything to do with him anymore because he's abusive in that way. He always wants me to sacrifice for the women in his life. I'm doing history, and that's not what I want.
Yeah, what was that? Eckhart Tolle. That's the first thing he says is you got to start cutting strings, and it's one of the first parts of my philosophy is Eckhart Tolle, the power of now. Start cutting strings. People want things from you. I used to answer the phone. What can I do for you?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely fascinating. This is like, I remember when I first started learning this stuff. It was like deep level psychology. Married men want other men, especially single men, to do stuff for them for free, to give them their labor, their work, their utility.
Work, and you get nothing from it. And we see this all over America with a lot of businesses. There's a married man, he runs a business, and he's got a bunch of men just scraping by pillar to post while he's, it goes.
He's taking his wife on expensive vacations and Bahamas, and what kills me, what also kills me is, in the end, so it seems, or it seems to me, in the end, these women, they're never pleased anyway.
They're never pleased anyways. Yeah, hypergamy is real. That's the next step to sexual cryptness. Is like she's not going to be satisfied. She wants all the men paying.
It's like you say, Joe. Like you see a beautiful woman, and how much is she going to cost?
Yeah, that's what me and my friend always say. We're walking down the street, be looking at him. Oh, she's rather attractive. Wonder how much that's going to cost.
Yeah. Yeah, but those unhealthy relationships, the best way is just to ignore people. Like you have to just not return phone calls, not text them,
Right.
block them, whatever you got to do. Just don't
Don't buy
communicate with
into
them.
the
Yeah, it's called they're looking for your supply. Like that's a
she's going to be the
narcissist
one
term.
unicorn that's
Yes.
not like
Right,
all
right,
the
right.
Yeah, just cut them off. Just yeah, and I had to do that with a lot of family too. And but here's another thing to think about too is jealousy too. A lot of these married guys are jealous of MGTOW because they see all the freedom we have and
right.
I mean,
Yeah,
keep our own money and all this kind of stuff. You know, they're jealous. So that's another thing to always
we cut
like
in.
that's a like when I can't figure out what's going on, it always goes back to jealousy. A lot of
Yeah,
times.
we cut into their very system. We talked about Hobbes' family system at one point, how that how it works within Hobbes's family system, and it's the same thing. It's like they need to get a slave, they need to get this person, and they dehumanize a male, and then that male gets dehumanized, so the rest of the family can feel better. Then he becomes the slave, and that's the way it
Yeah.
works out.
That's right. I that's what I found to be the case with myself. Until unfortunately, I had to one by one sort of cut off my entire family.
Yeah.
As the years, weeks turned into months, months turned into years. As the years went by, what I found is every single one of them came crawling back in one way or another, but not to apologize, not to admit any wrong. And I even very
that you were wrong.
Yeah, right. Just trying to get me to come back, right? And I would very, slowly, very clearly, very, very succinctly explain what's going on. I would say, I know what you're doing, right? This is a form of manipulation. I'm not going to have it anymore. You need to admit that, in my dad's case, I'll say things like, you need to admit that you cheated on my mom, right? You need to admit that your current wife is cheating on you. You need to admit that what I'm saying is right, and he won't do it. And then I say, okay, I'm hanging up the phone now, and then I won't speak with him for a year or two, and then what I have found is every single one of them have come crawling back, but none of them want to admit. None of them essentially, I think it's Professor Jordan Peterson. He talks about. He says it's all about climbing what he calls the social dominance hierarchy.
Right.
And we all want to be the boss, and we all want to have the moral high ground and so forth. But what these people will do is they, when they are actually wrong, even if you can prove it, they don't want to admit that they're wrong, because then they know that then they fall in the dominance hierarchy relative to you. Right. And if they're not going to play by the rules, you can never win with them. And so the best course of action essentially is to cut them off.
Right. Yeah. I've seen this thing developing in my family, and he used to be one of my other brothers that was dehumanized. And then he went to prison, and then I got a divorce, and then all of a sudden it was me. It was like, oh, he's going to be the scapegoat on the family. Everything that's wrong with the family is his fault.
Right. Yeah. If you guys ever get a chance, there's, I don't know who came up with this theory. I think it's called the, what's it called? I'm sorry, I can't remember. It's never mind.
Yeah, Hobbes goes over it very well with if you read intently, but you have to read intently because he was born in a time where you weren't allowed to say those things.
I'm sorry. I remember now. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think it's called the narcissistic family dynamic. The narcissistic family dynamic, and it works something like this. Again, I'm sorry, I can't remember who came up with the theory. You can look it up, punch it in at Google or something. But essentially, it goes like this: the person who came up with the idea says, like, there are healthy families and there are unhealthy families. A healthy family resembles what the person who came up with this theory calls a solar system. A healthy family is like a solar system.
Yeah.
No. I'm sorry. A healthy family is like a galaxy. All the members of the families are stars. Some stars are more prominent. Some stars shine brighter. Some stars shine lesser. But they're all stars. There's a certain modicum of like love or respect that you have for each member. However, on the contrary, the narcissistic family dynamic works. It's like a solar system. There's a sun in the middle, and there are all these orbiting planets. And the sun is represented by the typically a narcissistic parent. It's usually a parent. Doesn't have to be, but it's usually
a matriarchal parent. Yeah.
Yeah. And then all the other family members are sort of forced to become like servile, slave-like sycophants that are always working to please the narcissistic parent.
Right. Yeah. My son often brings this topic up, and it's the same idea and everything. He looks at me and he goes, "You have how many boys in your family, and you guys never got together and started a business?"
There
He
you
just
go.
he thinks that's like he says, "Yeah, we had a sick family. It was the narcissistic, what I call Burgess America. You get flooded with Burgess individualism, and then you believe that you're going to go out and kill the world. It would have been a lot easier if you would have stayed within your family unit with your work together with your brothers and sisters and built wealth from that, and then expanded. It will expand at a greater rate. It's like a big boom thing, that works out better. But in America, the family system is so broken that
Right. No, I completely agree with you, Trav. I find it amazing how much strength that could be found within the family unit, within the family structure, but it's the exact opposite now. Now it's like your family, your worst enemy. The women all want to control you. Or I'm sort of at the point now. The way I see it, most of the women in my immediate family would actually prefer to put me in prison, like I'm some sort of criminal. So it's like the family structure. They're like your worst enemy now. I know that sounds terrible, but
yeah, there's a lot to this MGTOW philosophy, and a lot of it comes from modernism, and some of it comes from postmodernism, and you have to do your research. And
oh, hey, partner, excuse me, sir. I think your phone is on the floor.
Oh, thank you.
Oh yeah.
But
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
like,
Are we live?
yeah, we're still alive.
No, I'm just joking. I just had to say that at least once.
Looking for a background page.
But yeah, there are a lot of components to it. But the thing is, you heard that term, looking out for number one.
Right.
It's like that term is viewed upon as a bad thing by the society, but in reality, that's a good thing. That's a positive thing.
Yeah, looking out for yourself is often, it's often taken off the field. There's a
not in a greedy way. Let me just add, not in a greedy way, but the more you're after, the more you're like, the more you're a healthy person and you have a life that's thriving, then you can go on and I try to help homeless people in this town whenever I can, stuff like that. I can do that because I'm in a good spot. As a MGTOW.
Very good book, and I gave it Dark Psychology. Just look up Dark Psychology of the Human Mind, and then you can read about those things and how we all have this dark psychology we're all interested in. But what I used to say with the difference with the Burgess individualism, you can be an individual, you can be a creative, well-functioning individual without being individualistic. It's two different things.
Uh-huh.
And today in America, especially, that's the separate and divide thing right away. You're on your own, and you're going to have to slay this thing. And they get people believing that you're going to slay it all by yourself. No, you need help sometimes. And, they've even went to the point where we've seen it and everything. And in our age, there used to be tenement homes where single males live together. Do you see those anymore? No, they actively try to shame males out of living together with other males. They'll call them gay. They'll call them like illegal tenements and everything. You probably see it in your city. They shut down an illegal tenement where there was 10 men living in the house. Well, in that situation, men start grouping together and start developing wealth.
That's true. That's very true.
And they start companies and they start forging the system in America. You see it a lot in 1940s and 1950s movies where the guy lives in a single room and there's 10 other guys in that house.
Uh-huh.
And it cuts cost, and you usually start talking to another guy, and then you come up with ideas, and then they don't want the money to stay with the patriarchy. They want the money to move from a single Burgess individual to a female, and that's best for them.
Right, because I have a roommate now that he can he can fix anything. So my AC went out. He bought he diagnosed it. We bought a $40 part.
Yeah.
He put it in. and it's fine.
Saved you
Now,
moving.
if he was not living here, I
Right.
don't know how to fix a damn thing. I might have gone for thousands of dollars. I might have gone for a new AC system. Who the hell knows what they would have got me for? I wouldn't have
Right.
been that dumb to buy a new one, but I would have,
Yeah, you would have probably had to call an air conditioning guy, and that guy probably has a family and charge you thousands of dollars,
right.
and you're paying for somebody else.
Yep. $40 part, Joe. $40 part.
I fix my furnace all the time. I'm very good at those things. Matter of fact, I'm a furnace technician. I'm a big furnace technician, not a little furnace technician. But I'm an EMT. I'm an electromechanical technician, so I fix my furnace all the time.
But the way I gave back to him is, he's kind of, transitioning his life now. Like, I'm not charging him rent.
Yeah, cool.
So it's like a win-win thing,
Takes care of his part.
He put a starter in my car.
Yeah, cool.
My starter was going, and he put that in, and he didn't charge me nothing.
Yeah, I've had a lot of bills.
It's great,
those kind of deals. You help me out with this, and you get rent and food and stuff for free, and
it's a beautiful thing.
You work together now. I notice a lot of males, especially the males that ran off and got a woman right away, never intended to fulfill that duty. And that's an interesting part of that. Men think that way sometimes. They'll screw over another guy that gives them the perfect opportunity to be masculine. And that's what we're asking for, that masculinity. We're saying we can work together as a team here. I have needs, you have needs. All these needs, we get bigger. And if five or six guys get together, it's a business. Each guy does his part, and all of a sudden you got this huge business, this flourishing business. That doesn't happen in America anymore.
Yeah.
They make sure it doesn't happen because you don't want, you look at Steve Jobs and that thing. How did that happen? 3 guys in a garage living together.
Yeah. Well, that's what they tell us. Who knows what? Yeah.
They had help, and there was, but that's how this whole internet thing came about. It's a couple guys living together, sharing the cost of, and being creative together.
Yeah.
And being masculine men together. We're gonna slay this thing, and always having support like that. That's important.
Yeah.
Not running off, getting yourself a family right away. That's gonna just it just drains.
No, that's the thing, and that's the thing too. Like the reclaiming masculinity thing. It's like getting back to that topic. Is like the first step in losing your masculinity is getting married. There's no question, 100%.
Yeah, there's evidence. There's just millions of pages of evidence that say as soon as you get married, your estrogen starts going up, your testosterone starts going down. You become less of a male, you become less dominant, you become less interested, and then you become the I'm going to go to work every day guy. Just do that. You settle for that.
Even dating too. I've known a lot of guys. They date too much, and then you can see their personalities. Their personalities are all over the place.
Yeah, that's the PUA. That's spending way too much. If you ask,
the PUA. The PUA thinks that being a PUA is masculine. That's the least masculine thing you can do. It's one of the least masculine things.
What was his? What's that guy's name? He's probably the bigger PUA now. I can't remember, but he just did a video just lately saying, "I wish I would have done that." Not Cantu. He was.
Okay.
He's a guy up in Canada. He always travel the world, slay the girls and everything. But
toolbox,
Just
toolbox. I don't know. I shouldn't make fun of men, but I'm just saying, like, PUAs really annoy me. They really annoy me, man.
He's working into his 40s now, and he says, "I wish I wouldn't have done that. I wish I would have saved more of my money. I wish I wouldn't have spent it all on one. I wish I'd have been." What he's saying is, "I wish I would have been more MGTOW about this."
Yeah, and well, that's the thing too. That's cringy in the society is how, like, men try to pick up on women. How it's you're supposed to let women come to you, okay? now, right? As a MGTOW, right? You let them come to you. Now you have to be smart enough to kind of navigate through that and set your boundaries and not engage them. Really, I would say don't engage and don't even bother. But if to like be that guy who's always kind of having the those Jim Carrey one-liners or whatever it takes to attract women. I seen a guy the other day, he's wearing like eyeliner. I'm like, dude, are you serious? I mean, I don't think
women nowadays are going for that more emasculating look.
Yeah, like
the new Superman.
don't be that guy. Don't be that guy chasing women. I mean, you just if you want to date, that's your business, but don't let them come to you. And the way you let them come to you is just by developing your personality, maybe working out,
Personality and
more,
everything.
read more, whatever. Yeah, take care of your own business. They will come to you. If you got your shit together, they will come to you.
Yeah, have you live a little dignity about the thing. Dignity is
have dignity. That's a good word. Yeah, dignity.
Yeah, dignity is like dignity for a man is like makeup for a woman. If you have dignity as a man, women notice that.
Well, and the thing I remember, like even when I was in college and stuff, I had some friends that like they would like say a woman liked me or something, but they would try to pick up on it, and I would just let it go. I'm like, I don't care. I'm not going to fight with my friend or over this broad. I can care less.
For me, I'm looking
What's
for
that?
something better.
Yeah. Those guys that would always think it was a competition. Like, get away from those guys.
Get away from those guys. Those guys end up making some girl pregnant and living a horrible life. You know what I seen? I told you I seen this the other day. It was like there was a female. I parked my bike and locked it up onto the rack. I was going to go in the store and look over, and there was this female walking up with two kids. And I looked down, and the kid was wearing a long shirt. And you know what it was? It was a PUA shirt.
Yeah.
And then I thought, oh man, yeah. She walked by, and I kind of smiled, PUA, and I says, he left that, huh? And he left that kid.
Yeah.
I thought that was the most ironic moment in my life. This baby mama walking up with a kid wearing a PUA shirt. It was just, I wish I would have got a picture of that. It was so ironic.
Yeah.
That was MGTOW in a nutshell.
It's funny. I think even when I was like 15, 16, I was a MGTOW because even my junior prom, like the chick asked me out. You know what I mean? It's like, because even then I didn't even want to be that guy like begging for a date or I was just never that type of guy. I think it just had it in my DNA, but those are the most awkward experiences I had with women is when the society and culture is telling me, oh, you gotta you gotta be a stand-up comedian, you gotta be Brad Pitt, and you gotta be Tom Brady all in one, to then ask these women out. Like, no, I'm not gonna be that. That's not who I am.
And then you look at their faults and everything, and you have to forgive them for every fault they have. It's like, oh, no, it's horrible out there for dating men, and I truly, I look at my son now, and he's like, Dad, there's not a lot of options out there, and it's like he wants to have a family, and he wants to be a father, and he wants to do all those things, and I never say he can't, but he's like, there's just he looks over this town and he goes, they're all baby mamas, and I'm not going to be a baby daddy.
Yeah, good for him. Yeah, you don't need that. I say once a woman hits like,
I gotta say, my son
it's about really 25.
This guy can run through it if he wanted to.
Yeah, but once a woman hits about 25, it's pretty much downhill. That's where they're downhill.
Yeah.
If you want to find a wife, I mean, I wouldn't recommend it.
I wouldn't recommend that. Yeah.
No.
If you want to have kids,
I'd say you got to find someone in their early 20s that's probably, doesn't do drugs, doesn't drink. I think doesn't have a temper. Like, there's a lot of qualifications you need to kind of go through. If she's a drinker or a drug user, forget it. That's automatically disqualification. And drinking is a drug, and it's not. Listen, we're old. You and I, and I haven't drank in over 15 years or whatever. But like, I can get why people want to have a beer every now and then. But if you're someone who's an alcoholic or likes to drink a lot, that's not the kind of person you need to be around, man. No way. I would say try to find a woman that's into fitness. Find a woman that's into fitness, maybe. Like, I'm talking about men that want to get married. Like, find someone that's into fitness, that goes to the gym a lot. They're close to with their family. Maybe that's probably a good one. And then they don't drink. They don't go out and do drugs and drink a lot. Yeah. That's probably a good. You got a better chance to at least maybe not get screwed over. Here's the thing: you're gonna get screwed over. You got to know that going in, you're going to get screwed over, but you're less likely to get screwed over if you try to go after that type of woman. 15
years without having a drink, and it's like, that's I always considered that's the price I had to pay for a logical attitude about life, and I got to keep the wits about me now because everybody wants to hurt me.
Yeah. I tell you, that helped me a lot, not drinking, because I just had more clarity. of mind, because really the purpose of drinking is just to what do you call it, distort your thinking, distort your logic.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was introduced, I don't know. I mean, I had to do a little more research on this, but like the Native Americans, that's one of the things that got them,
Yeah.
I mean, they got baited with these treaties and stuff, but but these European Columbus descendants, whatever, they used alcohol to get these
Alcohol as a
to
tool. Yeah.
manipulate them. Yeah.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
still doing that now. They do it now in our society with
Right.
drugs.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're making drugs. We talk about this too, like before, like how they make drugs, and media does a lot. They make drugs and, oh, it's so great. It's so great. No, it's not. It's like the worst thing for you.
No, that's horrible. Yeah, you think about it. We covered that earlier when I said, as a male, there's two different kinds. The ones that go out in nature and do things or the pickup artist, or the guy that wants to do that. He goes to the bar. He gets drunk. He loses his consciousness. He treats his body like shit, and then he's always searching for women and everything. That's not the way you want to be. You want to be centered as a MGTOW and look at that background. Go there. Go. Climb the mountain. I don't know what you want to do, but just become that, because that's the first thing they use against you. They drug you, and then all of a sudden you're in this groups that are looking for girls and talking about marriage and everything, and you're half-witted then.
Well, that's what helps me. I get up like 5, 6 in the morning most of the time, and then I'll go hiking, for an hour, at least an hour, because it's really hot out here. So get like an hour in sometimes. Yeah, but when I was back east, I would do 2-3 hours.
Yeah,
like either in the early morning, or I'll go like
I usually go for my bike ride. It's been hard this year. I'm finally back up to the over 5 miles thing, where I can go 5-10 miles or 10 miles a day, and three times a day. But it took a little bit of endurance building back up this year. And I'm finally up that I go to the park, ride around. And a lot of times I'll just ride around in neighborhoods and just kind of look around, see what's up.
Yeah. And get to know your community. Like we said, there's always a good trail somewhere that you can find in your.
Oh hell yeah! There's always a trail somewhere, and
they're there.
I spot it, and I'm like, I'm going down there.
Because I was even listening to a doctor talk about. Not that doctors know everything, but this one lady, she kind of knows her stuff. She goes, yeah, even if you're in a cloudy area, like like in the Northeast in the winter. Like you're still going out and walking and stuff. Yeah. There's still sunlight that goes through those clouds. Like you're still exposed to sunlight. You might not think so, but like your eyes can get the sunlight goes to your eyes, right? And it that's how the vitamin D gets even through that. So you don't necessarily have to have this perfect sunny day to get vitamin D. You can get it even through a cloudy day and walking, just being out in the fresh air,
Yeah, there's so much
works. Yeah, works through the cloud.
Health benefits. Just they say that just ride the bike 1 mile a day in the morning, and that I just read an article about that. That's what they're pushing. Just cycling for 1 mile every morning is the same as a lot of other activities. It's the same as a full workout. Cardio. Swimming.
I've been doing a lot of swimming too lately, and
I don't get to swim hardly enough.
It's great, man. I love it. My gym membership's only $25 a month. It's pretty good. So they got an Olympic-sized pools. They got like 6-7 locations I can go to. But anyway, the swimming's great because I can sleep well at night because my body's so tired. I do an hour to 2 hours swimming about 3-4 days a week, and I can sleep. It knocks me out.
I go to the beach here. And I take the shirt off, and then there's a Yeti report, and then they come and make me put my shirt back on.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Just kidding.
No, it's that's the thing. Like exercising is. I'd say for a young guy, if you want to get married, hey, listen, I wouldn't say do it, but if you had to, find someone that's into fitness, not just physical, but mentally, they understand narcissism, and they read books about human psychology, stuff like that. Someone who likes to read and learn about the world around them. There's a lot of positive, because not all. I mean, listen, I know I say all women are strippers or whatever, but not all of them. And there's some of them that are decent, but you're still taking a big risk, man, when you consider
if you're dating everything. I think one of my first questions, you you ever read Descartes?
Yeah. No, they're reading books about cats. Names
Yeah.
of cats.
What's your favorite book? It has a lot of meaning, if they're reading those Harry Potter
Right.
things.
Yeah.
What do you get from that? Nothing.
Yeah.
It's
Well, like
fantasy
the contemporary literature is mostly pretty bad, 'cause
it's all fantasy fiction. It doesn't teach you nothing except maybe how to spell right. But
yeah.
but no, you get nothing from that stuff.
Well, what's most women's favorite book is how to groom your cat properly.
Yeah, how to groom your cat. That's what you will be reading if.
Yeah. No, that's interesting, man. It's like I feel bad for these young guys. They're
The
just
young
because
guys.
they haven't lived it like we have. We understand these things. Like I could listen. I could get married in 3 or 5 years if I wanted to. I still have a pretty good job. I'm pretty good shape. Whatever. I still look pretty good. Whatever. But do I really want to do it? Do I really want to take on that risk? And it's like, no, I don't want to do it. But these young guys, they think, like, unless they're a good listener and can really take what we teach them and apply it, then a lot of times you're just gonna have to experience it. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to experience the heartbreak. But we're saying like you said, harm reduction. You can have harm reduction.
Yeah. Now there's a question, and I see it a lot when we ask the question of masculinity and everything. Some of these guys, they're not going to be like the A male masculine guys and everything. Most of us are never going to be that, Thor guy. But masculinity is more about how you handle yourself, your dignity, your how you walk into a crowd. It's more internal to yourself. Externally, you can work on an external masculinity, but that's not going to help you a lot in this world. Do you think it's more important to have an external masculinity or an internal masculinity?
No, absolutely internal, because
how you
the
think
external is just a facade. It's kind of just a facade,
right? And that's something that nobody else, nobody except for you can do. And that internal look. And that's why we always talk really a lot. We used to talk really about doing that self introspection and get in touch with your internal masculinity. What are you willing to take? What are you willing not to take? How you project yourself, how you walk into a room. You can think about these things, how you put yourself out to people. Externally, that's all garbage. Most of it's going to come from you, and then that will present itself in a physical way.
No, it's definitely internal. It's like I don't even like if I'm in a situation where someone's disrespecting me, I already know how to handle it now. I just ignore them. They don't get any explanation from me. I'm not gonna show them any weakness. It's just gonna be, I'm just gonna ignore you, and that's it. And then I'll have to see that person again. And if I ever encounter somebody like that, and I have to make it again, I'll just ignore them, or I'll just walk away. I'll just walk away, and then if they lay hands on me, then I'm just gonna have to put a beat down on them. That's a different situation, but
there's going to be and not everybody is born as pretty as this.
yeah. Well, it's like a lot. It's like I remember going out with me and my buddy, and his wife was like, "Oh, you guys be careful out there." And I looked at him like, "Did she just say for us to be careful? Like, we're both like 6'2", like 250. I mean, what did she say?" I kind of laughed. Like we were laughing about it. I'm like we got to be careful. No. The society has to be careful of me. Like I'm like a nice guy, but like it's for your own benefit that you don't
push it with me.
Anything stupid to me. Yeah, I have good boundaries.
No, when I started being a MGTOW, that's one of the first things that changed. And I tell you the stories all the time. And like, who do you think you're talking to? That became, a lot of people thought they can get away with everything with me. And that's the way it was. They could get away with everything with me. And I try to be the nice guy and everything. As soon as I became MGTOW, my response was like, look, who do you think you're talking to? Look at me. Look, what do I look like to you?
Yeah.
And that worked a lot better. People stopped trying to take advantage of me then.
Right. I don't look. I'm the last guy that's gonna really you have to really push me really hard for me to get to that point where I'm gonna have to confront them. Because again, my move is just to ignore them. But if they start pushing it, then it's not.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite lines now. When there's someone out there, and you get this shit all the time in the world. Someone's, one of my favorite lines when I walk by someone that's giving me that look or trying to pull something, I usually look at yourself, and then I walk by.
Yeah.
That's the best.
I had it with one of my customers. Like, she was giving me a bunch of crap, but she has no clue that I have 20 years of experience, you know.
Yeah.
Like, it's a new industry for me. I'm learning about it. So she was asking me some technical questions, and she just kept doing it, but she doesn't understand. So you know what I did? I kept so we have to call on these people like every 3 weeks, but I was going in there every week. Like, she didn't understand. She doesn't know what I'm made of. Like, she thinks I'm gonna like be a coward because she's giving me a hard time. No, so now it's like, now we're buddy.
Yeah.
Now we're buddy. It took me 3 months. But
you stand up for yourself as a man.
Right.
People respect you more.
Right. Most men that I'm not trying to downgrade men, but most men that aren't as masculine, they would just cower down and ignored her. But I didn't do that. I did the opposite.
Respect that way.
Right. I kept going at her, and then now we're like on first name basis and blah blah blah, and relationships developing. And now I know more about I know more about the industry now, so I can speak at her level.
And you know which line's not crossed to me. And
right. You're not gonna. Yeah, that's another thing for men to do, is watch out for these con men. Like, we see them all the time in the media, but like, these people telling you that they're an expert in this or an expert in that, and or worse, they tell you how to live your life, as if they know. It's like, come on, man, we're only here for a short period of time. It's like, you're not an expert. You don't have the life cornered on the best way to live or whatever.
Juliette Lewis is like always trying to tell us what to do, and Sarah Jessica Parker was.
Yeah. But these guys are like, they're always selling you a gimmick. It's like you say, they're trying to do the salesman thing, like the.
Hey, we're going on 156. My
son
will be home pretty soon. I want to
Yeah. No, just one last. For the reason why masculinity is so important, because you have your own ideas about what you want to do with your life, and you should pursue those things. When you start listening to too many people, like, they'll try to chip away at your masculinity.
Right.
They'll try to chip away at it, and they're just doing it to pretty much control you, right? To control you, or to get you to buy something. Maybe they're selling, whatever. But the more you can kind of trust yourself, like Jeff and I used to talk about this time, trusting yourself. The more you can trust yourself, that's the more you can develop your masculinity and, say no to people and be a stronger force. Like you said, in terms of like achieving your goals, achieving your dreams.
It's intertwined with the inner self-knowledge about yourself. And that's why we always talked about self-exploration and, figure out who you are. And that's so important in life for serenity and peace and everything. As soon as you figure that out, there's a certain masculinity that comes with that. And it just goes with you everywhere you go. And I think people can see it in you. This is not a confused guy. This guy knows exactly what he wants.
Right. It's knowing what you want out of life.
Right.
That's going to change. That's going to change over time as you change.
Yeah, that's going to change. You're going to be served, options and different ways to think about things. And don't bias yourself in a certain manner. Always look at things and examine whether that would be good for you. And don't bias yourself because maybe, if this works for you, that's great. You're different than everybody else in this world. You want to find those specific things that you do the best. And that's going to take a little self-examination.
Yeah, that's why I love going out there and just, again, going for those walks. And like, I went with my buddy last week, but it's not the same. When I was I like walking by myself. I don't like really having other people,
You ever wonder why some of the most successful people in the history of mankind were all botanists?
No. Oh, it makes sense. Yeah, they're close to nature.
They're close to nature. They're into finding out new things and seeing how they interact with the world that they live in and everything. A lot of, Darwin was a botanist. Marx was a botanist. Durkheim was a botanist. Most of these, at one point, most of the philosophers were botanists, and they were so in touch with nature. And I think it is really important.
Yeah, no, definitely. And the best part about it, like the park I go to now, like the nature preserve I go to, there's no cost to admission. I just pay for my gas to drive there. Car.
Yeah, there's no cost to admission. And if you in Ohio here, if you call the park system or go down to the local park, where they're set up and everything, they have tons and tons of stuff they do. They'll do concerts, they do get-togethers, they do little lectures on things that are important in your area to know and everything. There's a ton of stuff that they put on and they do that a lot of people don't generally take advantage of.
Yep. That was a huge turnaround for me, like in my life. Like about 5 years ago, that's when I started really getting into nature and to kind of take things to another level. But yeah, no, final thought I have is just kind of for men to, just stop apologizing for being a man, for crying out loud.
Apologizing
You know
for
what I
being-
mean? Yeah. Stop apologizing that you're the apex predator in this planet, and you are, and we are. So I haven't seen, I don't think there's another creation on this planet that's greater than men. I don't think so. I haven't seen it. So, be proud to be, have some confidence in yourself, have a lot of confidence in yourself that that you can achieve what you want out of life, So that's my final thought, Joe.
That's your final thought. That's about a good place to wrap it up. And we're going to wrap it up. And thanks a lot for coming around, man. Thanks for all the men that's going to listen in the future. And if you run upon this, think about masculinity. Think about yourself. Think about how a MGTOW would do it and what's good for yourself and all that stuff. And thanks for coming around, guys. But most of all, thanks for being a MGTOW. MGTOWs.